Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, year number 25. I'm Bob Pompiani, and we have now headed into training camp. We also have a Pirate team that's on the verge of potentially making a deal, maybe, maybe not. We're going to get into that, but the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is going to be the Steelers, who hit the fields at St. Vincent College in Latrobe. And here to debate is your panel tonight. We have Jason Mackey from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. In the middle, Ray Fittipaldo from the PG and Andrew Fillipponi from the PM team. Over to the far right, or your left.
I'm shocked you made it here after the amount of dancing you did over the weekend. This guy at the Pitbull concert, I thought you were going to fly back with Pitbull and be one of the dancers.
You have to admit,
in his ensemble.
It's very amazing
Infectious.
music. It gets you going, right?
Oh, it was getting you going all right.
Getting me, a lot of things get me going. What gets me going right now is that the Steelers are back. Jason, I want to start with you on this, and then we'll get to Ray and then Andrew about it. You know, we see an injury to Russell Wilson. Some people are alarmed by it, but he's 36. He has a calf injury. Historically, Mike Tomlin has downplayed injuries that turn out to be bigger than he says at the time. Najee Harris's foot comes to mind. What's your take on this? Is it a big deal? Much ado about nothing?
Much ado about nothing, Bob, other than the fact that you have your 36-year-old quarterback pushing a sled, which I have yet to understand. We're probably going to debate that further. But as far as this being a big deal, absolutely not. I don't see it. He's going to work out full when they put the pads on. If he was missing padded practices, if he was missing preseason games.
Did you just break news here? He's going to definitely practice on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, we've had no indication otherwise.
What do you mean? The indication we have so far is that they don't even want him to take part in light practice. It sounds like you're breaking news. Ray, you want to break the tie here?
I was there today. He did individual. He's been throwing every day after practice. And Mike Tomlin did say after the workout on Sunday that he's going to take part in team periods. Now, does that mean he's full go? We don't know, but at least he's going to be in 11-on-11 for the first time.
Ray, I want to ask you about the sled thing. You've been up there a number of years. I've never seen quarterbacks push a sled anywhere.
Yeah.
Why?
New strength and conditioning staff. That's part of their conditioning routine. He came from Boston College. It's different.
It's dumb.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, why don't we now stop bury the lead here? That's one of the stupidest things I've heard in my entire life.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's not going to happen again. I think you'll see offensive linemen pushing sleds in the future, but I don't think you'll see quarterbacks doing. Big mistake. They're lucky it was only a calf strain.
I think Boswell's going to jump into backs on backers on Tuesday. I think that'd be a good idea.
How do we know that this isn't a lingering thing? You know,
you
that's
don't know,
the other
like
part
I said.
of it. We've watched.
Sounds good now, but you never know.
Look at the quartile of quarterbacks. He's 35, 36 years old. He's the fourth oldest in the league. Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, and Matthew Stafford are the other three, and they all, in the last couple of years, have had major injuries. The guy was completely healthy for the first 9 years of his career in Seattle. The first game he ever missed was actually
Did you just say
Pittsburgh.
quartile? Quartile?
Yeah. Why, you don't like that word now? Bob, the issue I have here is this is a guy that is obsessed and addicted to practicing, so much so that when they played a game here and he was hurt, he did a fake game with invisible players beforehand. So I think he's got to be somewhat injured to not be out there for the first few days
I would agree,
of practice.
but what it's done, Ray, is open the door for Justin Fields. What have you seen from him? Because he's been erratic at times from what I've seen from various reports.
Yeah, I mean, the goal-to-go situations when they open practice with 7 shots from the 2-yard line, he wasn't good the first 2 times. He was actually better today, got them in the end zone twice. He did throw a pick in team drills today. I think what we've heard about Justin Fields coming into his Steelers tenure is what he is. Inconsistent, inaccurate with the football, tons of potential. We'll see what Tom Arth and Arthur Smith can do with him, but, you know, I'm not surprised that he's struggled a bit here in his first week as a Steeler.
All right, so I'm going to put you an over and under game here now. Jason, start with you. Just because it's a long season, because Russell Wilson is 36, over and under 4, the number of games Justin Fields starts at a quarterback this year.
Under.
Under.
I think Russell Wilson ends up having the job, taking the job, keeping the job. Maybe Justin Fields starts 1 or 2, but I think it's largely going to be Russell Wilson's job.
Barring injury, way under. I think.
No, I'm saying that, there could be an injury, right? I mean, you don't know that.
Yeah,
barring injury,
I think he's going to stay
way
healthy.
under?
He has a very good history of staying healthy, Paul.
So you don't think it will be a performance-related thing at all?
I don't. I think Russell Wilson is perfectly suited to lead this team, lean on the defense, protect the ball. Justin Fields doesn't do that. That's why I think that.
I don't think they play the type of teams this year where they can. I know their defense should be great, but the idea that they're going to win games 17-14, I just think is ridiculous and completely asinine in today's NFL. They're like one of 5 teams in the entire league that are probably trying to win this way. I mean, come on. To my opinion, Tomlin has always been smitten by the potential of Fields, the dynamic playmaking. He's a defensive coach. He knows it's harder to defend 11 guys instead of 10, so that's why I think the running dynamic is huge with him. I think they get to a point where he wants a shot in the arm and a boost at a point in the season because they're 500 or worse, and Fields goes in and will play more than 4 games.
Interesting.
And will be their quarterback next year.
All right, that brings us to a big topic around here. George Pickens and the lack of a number 2, at least for now.
How about George Pickens, period, with his behavioral outbursts?
Well, that's going to be that's the 2-part question. Number 1, how long will this go on? Ray, you've been up there, and you reported on the wide receiver coach. But Jason, let's talk about, what happens if there's no complement to him? The other part of this, who emerges as the number 2? Who's a guy that you can look at and say, okay, he's going to play opposite to George Pickens, and George doesn't have to worry about being double covered?
Well, Bob, I still think there's an opportunity for them to add another wide receiver. No, I know we talked about
Hill?
that. Not Tyreek Hill. I don't even think Brandon Ayuk, but somebody out there. I mean, they can and should upgrade that position. Now, based on what we've seen so far, who's sort of separating himself, I'd go with Van Jefferson. I think he's been the better of the 2 options. Roman Wilson has been good. A couple days ago, he had a really strong practice. At the same time, I'm not willing to put that on him to say, you're the number 2. You have to perform in this way. At this point, if they don't add outside, I'd go Jefferson and then Wilson, the number 3.
Yeah, I'm with Jason. I never put it past Omar to make a move late in training camp, but from what I've seen so far, Zach Azzani is a guy, and Arthur Smith as well. He's going to get the most out of his receivers. If you look at Arthur Smith's rosters when he was with Tennessee, really good offenses, but they weren't deep at receiver, so he can maybe get it done with this type of group if he has to.
Well, I would argue, just to follow up on that, I would argue he doesn't have a job as a head coach anymore because he did not get enough out of his weapons in Atlanta. Would you agree with that?
I'm talking about Tennessee. I mean, Atlanta, tough situation. He had end stage Matt Ryan, and then he had Desmond Ridder, who was in a terrible quarterback class. So kind of give him a pass for that.
The other part of George Pickens, though, is the attitude. We've seen glimpses that could be a problem. He downplayed that today. We saw those answers. Do you believe him?
No, because it's like AB in this respect. AB would apologize for these types of incidents where he acted up or had a temper tantrum or blew up on somebody, and then it would happen again. And then it was a vicious cycle that repeated over and over again. I don't see it changing. I think this is who he is. I think that's why he was a 2nd-round pick and not a 1st-round pick, more because of this than the injury.
He's going to be challenged. Arthur Smith and the guys he brought in are no-nonsense types of guys. If he doesn't adjust now, he's not going to get a 2nd contract with the Steelers, but there's a lot of time for him to sort of, clean up his act. And if he does, he's got all the potential in the world to be a number 1 receiver, Bob.
Yeah, I shouldn't say I don't have a problem with it, but I mean, I like the style of coaching from Zach Azzani. I mean, I want somebody to challenge George Pickens, and I have no problem with it happening right now. Now, if that behavior continues, the way Andrew's saying, I think the Steelers probably have a problem on their hands. That's inevitably going to spill over. But does the water need to find its level? Does George Pickens need to accept some coaching? Is he going to be challenged by somebody and made better for it? I don't know. I hope so.
Bob, not having a 2nd wide receiver, I think, exacerbates the problem, too, because he's going to get double teamed, and it's going to become harder to get him the ball.
That's going to be the issue with him. We're going to take a break on that note. When we come back, we'll continue with the Steelers, and then after that, we'll get into the Pirates, who were 1 out away from being swept today, but they came back and won. How big was that win? Next. All right, we continue with the Steeler conversation here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. We talked about the quarterbacks and George Pickens. Ray Fittipaldo, I want to ask you about the tackles, because all of a sudden Troy Fontano is getting some opportunity there, but it started with Dan Moore. When this season's open on September the 8th in Atlanta, who's going to be the starting tackles?
I hesitate to say Fautanu on a slam dunk, but he is different from Broderick Jones last year, Bob. 30 starts at Washington. He's a very polished player. We saw him step in today when Broderick Jones got hurt. First rep, he stood up TJ Watt at the line of scrimmage. They were able to throw a touchdown pass to Scotty Miller.
Why not play him there then? is what I want to know.
At right tackle.
At left tackle.
No, but he stepped in at right tackle.
Oh, even better.
Broderick is still playing right tackle.
Gotcha.
So,
which doesn't make
Are they
sense.
doing that in deference to Dan Moore? Is that it only? Because Dan
No.
can't play right tackle.
they want Troy Fautanu to prove that he's the guy, and I think in time he's going to prove that faster than Broderick Jones did, but I can't wait till the pads come on next week. When I tell you this guy is polished, I mean, there was almost nothing wrong with his technique. So he's going to be on the fast track. I just don't want to say yes by the season opener he's going to be in there, but it'll be shortly thereafter if not.
With all apologies to Dan Moore Jr., it does absolutely no use them giving him reps. I mean, if Troy Fautanu can handle himself, and we have all indications so far that he can, I'm sorry, get Broderick Jones over the left side. Get
Well, that's what I
Fautanu
mean.
in at
Why
right
not
tackle.
just have Dan Moore take the right tackle reps until
Because
Fautanu's
he's
ready?
hugely uncomfortable in right tackle.
Well, then make him more comfortable with these practices. What are these practices for?
I mean, I don't think a couple training camp practices are going to say. I mean, he's
So,
spoken.
Jason, let me get this
I'm not
straight.
defending it,
Hold
by
on,
the way,
let me
Andrew.
just-
I would sit him on the bench.
Let me ask you a
and not
question.
play.
If Fautanu does start week 1 and gets injured, who goes in and plays right tackle? Not Dan Moore?
Probably Broderick Jones on the right side, and then they put Dan Moore Jr. on the left.
Unbelievable with this guy, Moore.
I'm not defending it. I mean, go
Get him
back
off
and
the
look.
team.
Like, he has talked about not being able to be a tackle that plays both sides. He is strictly a left tackle.
When Jim Rutherford didn't like the way Mike Sullivan played a guy, he got rid of him, so he didn't have that option anymore. That's what they should do with Dan Moore.
Yeah, they have him in there, and I don't know if he's going to get another contract here, but the bottom line is they still give him first-team reps to start this thing. We'll see where it goes. It changed last year. So, Ray, I want to ask you about two contract situations, Cam Hayward and Pat Freiermuth. Anything there, or do you expect anything there?
I expect Pat Freiermuth definitely to get done before Cam Hayward does. I would be a little bit surprised if they don't get one done before the start of the season. I'm convinced right now that they'll take care of Cam after the season. They want to see how he plays. People forget. They say, oh, he's going to be a free agent. They have the back end of January, all of February, and the first 2 weeks of March.
So no
to get something
urgency
done.
to do that for him.
He's coming off an injury, and
But he seems like he wants something done, doesn't he?
Yeah, but they don't need to. They don't need.
know
With
they don't.
Freiermuth, it makes business sense to get it done now, I think, because of what he can be in Arthur Smith's offense, and you want him around. So
And
you
he's
don't
your
want the
number two-
price to go up.
he's
I
your
would
number
imagine.
2 receiver right now
Right.
in terms of targets. Yeah.
Andrew, what do you think?
Well, on Freiermuth's end, I know he wants to because I've talked to him. I think he wants to be a Steeler for a very long time. He likes it here, but if I were in his shoes, I would not take a contract because of the season he's coming off of. And if he's going to be such a dynamic part of the offense, put up the big numbers this year, bet on yourself and get more money this offseason. In Hayward's position, I get what Ray's saying about how they'll have all that time before free agency. I think he's such a prideful guy that if they really do not work hard to get a deal done with him, I could see him holding it against the Steelers and wanted to have a fresh start somewhere else next year and chase a championship somewhere. He said it multiple times,
He
I
has,
will
but I don't
play
believe
somewhere
that.
else.
I think he's going to get it done. I don't know when it gets done, but I
Before the season starts?
I do. I think it'll get done before the season starts. Something. It won't be 3 years, though.
No.
I don't think that'll happen. We got to take a break on that note. When we come back, we'll talk about the Pirates. I said before, they almost got swept. Instead, they came up with a big win on the road. What does it mean with regard to the trade deadline? That's next on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, we're back talking about the Pirates, who were one pitch away, basically, from losing again and getting swept in Arizona, a team right above them in the standings. But they pulled one out. Joey Bart came up with a big pinch hit double to drive in a run that tied the game. Then they got 4 in the 10th to win it 6-5. So, Andrew, I want to ask you what that means. First of all, if they had lost, heading 2 days away from the trade deadline, I don't know that would have done anything but make the Pirates think they don't need to make a deal.
Or
now
sell.
that they did,
Or worse.
Or worse. But now that they did win this game, not that one game defines what's going on here. What do you think Ben Cherington is thinking? So far, we've seen a lot of trades involving teams behind them, like Cincinnati, or I'm sorry, Chicago, with Paredes going there from Tampa. Why would they make that deal? They believe they're in it. What do you think the Pirates are going to believe?
I heard a guy for a half hour on his radio show today tell us why he can't make deals because of what the asking prices are, and he said you have to be able to say no. You have to be comfortable saying no and walking away from deals is what he probably said 10 or 15 times. I mean, it was almost conditioning fans to not expect anything because of the outrageous asking prices that are out there, where we're seeing guys get dealt for not even top 10 prospects in teams or
that's not
organizations. So
outrageous.
this is
Jesse Winker was had for a 17th
Agreed.
MLB pipeline,
Yes.
Right, and he's got a
17th
great
ranked
OPS.
and
prospect.
he's only making $2 million, so it's not a money thing.
It's like a 750
This is the fan
OPS.
in me talking. It'll be criminal if they don't do anything to help this team, and I have a sinking suspicion that that's going to be what happens.
Does the price go down after the trade deadline and you want to go through waivers? I mean, that's...
You
You can't make waiver trades anymore, Ray. They changed the rules on
Changed the
that.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
mean, this is it. This is their shot to
But they
make
should have
this
done it
team
earlier.
better.
Don't you think they should have done
Well,
something
you miss
earlier?
100% of the shots you don't take, and they're not taking shots, Jason.
I agree with you. I don't know, Bob. I don't know. It depends on what they come out of here with. If we're sitting here on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock and they've done nothing, then they've screwed it up. And it's a disservice to their fans. Plain and simple. These people that have hung in there, they've shown up. You see what the appetite can be if there's a winner there. Those people deserve to have a better offense on the field. And I know they won today. That doesn't change the problem. And the problem is you had 5 hitters in the lineup today with the OPS under 600. That's unacceptable.
3-4-5
3, 4,
was
and
Joe
5 hitters.
Palacios
Yeah, well,
and Hayes.
I mean, that is
Reynolds
unacceptable.
is not around, and I get it. But
I will give them to the deadline, Bob, of figuring this out and doing it the right way. But they need to do something.
Do you believe, Ray, that they are a contending team as is? And I guess I have to define contending. Going into a playoff situation where they can win a best of 3.
Yes, because of their starting pitching, but I have no belief, Bob, that they can get there as their lineup currently sits. I think if they ever get to the point with Jared Jones, Paul Skeens, and Mitch Keller, I would think they would be favored in almost any series. But with that offense, it's going to be hard for them to get over the top.
Are they a contending team as is?
No, because of what Ray said. They're not.
But you don't think if they somehow get in, teams around. But look at teams around them that are collapsing. St. Louis's last 3 in a row, they're not a really good
Right,
team.
but the season right now is not a best of 3. There's still
I know.
50-something games left, and that's the issue.
Okay, but are they a contending team? Let's say they somehow get in.
Okay, that's a different question.
Okay.
If they get in, yes, they can win because of
of pitching.
Skeens and Keller.
And they might be a quote-unquote contending team where they stay around. But are they a threat to anybody? And probably not. And this is liable to go off the rails if they hit an extended skid with their offense, Bob. I mean, I think that's what we're saying.
They have hit an extended skid with their offense. It's called the entire 2024 season.
I know.
Jason.
I mean, if it gets worse.
Should have won a
I
game
mean, if
today
it gets
again.
worse.
He goes 7 innings,
Fair.
2 runs, and he's out and thinking you're going to lose the game again, which is crazy. We're going to talk about injuries because they've happened again for the Pirates, and there's a big name, and you wouldn't have thought this at the beginning of the season, but he's been one of their best hitters. He is out with an injury. What do they do next? That's coming up when we continue right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, welcome back. We're talking about the Pirates, and not only do they have an injury to Nick Gonzalez, who's been really good, one of the best hitters with running and scoring position, but the Pirates later today, they made a move to send Jack Suwinski to AAA, which makes you wonder now, Jason, does that mean there's a trade on the way? We'll talk about that and Gonzalez, both lump them in together.
Yeah, I don't think that means there's a trade on the way. They could be parallel tracks, but I would not say that one indicates the other. I've watched Jack Suwinski for a while now. It's not happening. It's not happening. And it needs to be. It's an indictment on their development and how they're getting players ready for the major league level, but I don't think it indicates a trade, Bob. I just think it indicates poor. It means that he hasn't done anything.
Well, he hasn't done anything
And they need
all
to bring
year.
somebody in here who is.
But, I mean, it's Michael A. Taylor. Can't be him. He hasn't done anything either, is it? Who
For what,
plays?
a trade?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about who plays center field. If he's down there, somebody's
Oh,
gonna
I mean, they'll figure that out. I mean, you could play Palacios there. You could play Ji-Won Bay there. But
I mean,
Taylor
maybe
could play
Paguero's getting
more.
called up so they can get another middle infielder in the mix. I mean, now that Gonzalez is out.
They might need to. Yeah. I mean, you need anybody who can hit, anybody who can produce with the bat, and Jack Suwinski hasn't been doing it.
They're in this point where it's critical mass offensively because other than Nick Gonzalez, who, by the way, they thought Jared Triolo was better than when the season started, they made Jared Triolo their, again, horrible analysis by them. So many of their internally young players have completely stunk it up. I mean, Suwinski's supposed to be, strikes out a lot, but he should hit 20 to 25 home runs every year. Henry Davis is healthy and is at AAA. And a guy they picked up from San Francisco, great trade, Bart, for nothing, but looks like a better player with a brighter future.
That
with
leads
them.
us, Ray, to him next year. Henry Davis, he's 1-1. Doesn't seem like there's a place for him to play. I don't know where it would be, but what do you do with him if he can't get his, if his bat goes to me, if his bat starts playing, then I'm putting him anywhere.
Right.
DH, right field, I don't care, I'll hit him. But if it doesn't, what do you do with him?
He's going to get one more shot because you said he is 1-1.
Unless they trade him, Ray.
But do you need a first baseman
This
and
is
you
the wrong
potentially
time
need
to
a
trade him, though, isn't
right
it?
fielder?
Why,
Why
because
would
he's
you
got no
trade him?
value?
Right? Wouldn't you? You don't have that. What value does he have right now?
Well, he has the cachet of being a 1-1 pick. It depends
Right,
on how
that's what
another
I-
team.
Joey Bart 1-2, and then he gets dumped.
Well, it just depends on how another team.
That's the
interprets
scary
that.
thing, Bob. You hold on to him too long, maybe eventually he has zero value whatsoever, and you end up dumping him on somebody.
But let's say he starts hitting. What do you do?
I would get him away
better
from.
start hitting.
I would get him away from catcher. I don't. You got Andy Rodriguez coming back next year. Try him at first. Try him at right field. If it doesn't work, you got to cut bait in the middle of next season. But give him that one more shot.
Do you believe that too?
I'd keep him at catcher. I've seen what it looks like in right field, and I don't like it. I don't like his wasting his arm at first base, and I don't need him to play a third position that he's mediocre at. Right now, the clearest path toward him finding his stroke at the plate is behind the plate. And I don't know if that means for the Pirates. It might just mean he has to stay in AAA a little bit longer than I'm comfortable with, because right now Joey Bart's the guy. I don't understand why Yasmani Grandal's on the roster. That's one way you could make it work, but that's a discussion for another day. I wouldn't move his position. I think that would be counterproductive.
The Grandal's on the team because for whatever reason, these star pitchers like pitching to him. For example, tomorrow night, Skeens is going to have Grandal again because he doesn't want Joey Bart to catch him for whatever reason.
They don't like when the catchers hit.
I guess not.
Shows him up.
Mitch Keller didn't want Henry Davis to catch him. You're saying Davis was a good catcher. Go up at the game. Look at the game logs. He didn't want Henry Davis.
I know.
All right.
I know.
Got to go to a break here, guys. I want to tell you before we do that number one Cochran's red, white, and new celebration has been such a big hit. I'm sure you've seen it. Well, they've extended it now through July 31st. Visit any number one Cochran location and look for special tags marking select new vehicles. Each tag indicates extra savings up to $1,000 off their already reduced prices. So check those out. These offers are available only in store, so hurry in now for the red, white, and new celebration. You can check out their entire inventory at Cochran.com. We're out of time. Thanks for joining us. See you next week, 11:35. Good night.